Casey, welcome to the SAINTCON Hallway.
Thank you for having me.
You traveled a very short distance to come see us. Where were you, in Draper, Utah?
No, I was in the East Bay of San Francisco is where I live. But then probably 2 weeks prior to that, coming in from Sydney, Australia, which is where the funny accent's from.
And
I have to explain that a lot. It's like, where are you? I'm like, anyway, here.
San Fran's weird. She'll just take it.
That is true.
First time in Utah? How many times have you been here?
We actually have an office here, and we've had one for a while. I think it's in SLC proper, and it's actually been a while since I've been there, probably pre-COVID, which you can probably hear in my uncertainty of where it actually is. I was driving up and down the valley. I'm like, wait, is it here or there? And whatever.
So plenty of times you've been here.
Yeah, probably 3 or 4. Like not a ton. But
why haven't you been here for SAINTCON before?
I honestly didn't know this was a thing. I mean, that's the straight up answer. I think October and November, there's a lot of stuff going on, and it's a combination of like either having a very set bunch of things that I'm trying to work through, or just being completely paralyzed for choice. And somehow SAINTCON didn't quite make it on the radar in the process. So when I saw you guys in Singapore at Blackout, I think it was, it's like, heck yeah, I'd love to see that. It's an amazing crew. I do love this place. Is like a breath of fresh air. Like literally, but the scenery and all that kind of stuff, coming out here from California, it's just something just exhales by default. So even that on its own was a pretty good reason to come on out.
So first time here, what's your initial thoughts?
It's, a lot of hardware.
A lot of hardware.
Yeah, which was not a huge shock because it's kind of, a HackerCon thing, right? But just the amount of it, and then the community that seems to have formed at SAINTCON around like hardware hacking and batch life and all that kind of stuff. That was actually really cool. I get jazzed about that because I do think hardware is kind of an underappreciated area in security. We're all focused on like cloud and AI and whatever. And in the meantime, the internet runs on 10, and there's a lot of bad stuff happening with hardware at the moment. So, I don't think the people that understand those skills are about to be busier. And even, short of that, just seeing the community around it, that's really cool.
Right.
Just it's friendly. Like it's laid back, it's friendly. I was saying to Grifter just before because we're catching up. It's like laid back, but it's not sleepy, if you know what I mean. Like everyone's here to like do their thing, learn, network, do the community thing, whatever else. But it's all just very kind of relaxed, but kind of focused at the same time, it's odd, but it's really nice. It's odd in an unusual sense.
Right.
But quite cool.
Do you have a handle?
Yeah, so Casey John Ellis is my everywhere handle. When I went to sign up on Twitter, or change my name from my old handle that I don't talk about anymore.
Let's talk about the old handle.
No, let's not do that. First name, last name was gone. So I got stuck with John, and then the whole Bugcrowd thing kind of happened and took off. And that's when I think I started to know more people here in the US in particular. So I got stuck with the middle name at that time. So Casey John with a HELLIS, or CJE is kind of how I get framed out these days.
Right.
Yep.
How did you get into InfoSec? And does it involve an old handle?
It does. But like I said, we're gonna
get there. You teased me with it, man. That was on you.
That is true. But still no. No, look, like growing, I'm a 81 baby. So like Oregon Trail generation, right in the middle of starting school analog and then finishing high school digital. The thing that was really cool for me is that, in hindsight, is that my dad was a science teacher, and both my parents, they just really valued kind of feeding my like ADHD, like partly criminal but good-natured brain with things to learn through that period. And I recognize that not everyone necessarily gets that, but looking back through it, I can't take credit for that part. I think it's kind of cool, right? So that was sort of the origin part. So, like an Apple IIe came home at one point, all these different things. And I'd just gotten used to this idea of like, when you get a piece of technology, you basically, the first thing you do is like tip it upside down, see what falls out, right? It's like, okay, whoever designed this probably put a bunch of stuff in there that it's not meant to do. And like, I can go find those things, and then maybe I can make it do what I want. And if not, the learning process is fun in and of itself. And that was sort of my, origin as a hacker. so to speak. Got into the IRC scene in Australia back in the day, BBS, it was sort of that era. Yeah, and then pretty much like finished high school and didn't really know what I wanted to do other than something. Everyone's saying, oh, you should go to university. So I ended up doing, it was a nuclear medicine degree, but I did like 6 weeks of that and dropped out because I'm like, the only reason I'm here is because it's the thing that I'm meant to do next. I can't like apply myself to something like that unless I actually believe in what I'm doing and kind of get jazzed about it. Right. So I punched out of that. And yeah, good fortune, serendipity, blessing, however you want to think of it. I had a good friend who was basically starting up a IT consultancy who said, hey, like you seem to computer goodish. Do you want to come in and be an intern?
You seem to computer goodish.
Yeah. And I mean, like the bit that like is not, it's sort of down in the basement of that story is that like, I wouldn't say troubled kind of teen, but it definitely like explored and experimented and kind of got into trouble, all those different things. Nothing ever too severe. Like I kind of managed to get away with a lot, but it was enough that people that were close were like, yeah, this dude needs some help. Like he's definitely trying to figure out what his life's all about. He's got all these ideas and all these different sort of directions in his thinking that he just needs help trying to kind of bring some focus to. And it was really mentorship. It was someone just coming and putting their arm over my shoulder and saying, hey, like, let's go walk down here for a bit and see if you like it. It made all the difference because at that point, started doing network engineering and then started hacking stuff and then realized that, yeah, it was sort of in the context of I should see if this is secure or not and then tell them if it's not. And people kind of liked it when I did that. And I'm like, oh, okay, I can like think like a criminal but not be one, because that was always a conflict. Right. This idea of like, I really like this way of thinking. I really like actually thinking like a bad guy and the incentives they have and all that kind of stuff.
Something about a handle that we're not going to talk about.
Yeah. And just, I mean, too many James Bond movies and like mixed company, all that crap that you get growing up, right? But the opportunity to actually take that and apply it in a career context, I didn't even know that existed at the time. So it's like Christmas and It all kind of went from there.
Yeah. Growing up, we didn't know you could do this job.
Yeah, this is like 99, 2000, right. that kind of time. So I think Australia tracks maybe 4 or 5 years behind the US on that bit through that period, as far as I can tell. But yeah, it was all happening at roughly the same time. So it's like, yeah, cool. You can actually do this stuff. People see value in it. And that's when I became aware of the fact that folk actually don't understand the role of the hacker at that point in time and kind of criminalized it because they were afraid of it, which, made its way into what I do today with Bugcrowd and Disclosure. So, yeah.
So that sounds great.
I should shorten that up. Sorry, I took you through a mental circuit.
That's what we're here for.
You get the story, man. It's like,
I'm still trying to figure out how to get your handle out of you, but I'm running out of ideas already. So you're here speaking at SAINTCON.
Yeah.
And something you're excited about?
Yeah.
Nervous about?
Look, it's interesting because I've done a lot of speaking. Like, background now is basically most people know me as that Bugcrowd guy because we didn't invent bug bounty and vulnerable disclosure, but we did pioneer this idea of putting a platform in between all the hackers and all the problems that need to be solved. Because the thing that I saw at that point in time when I founded the company, like 2012. Was that, the operating environment for people that hack in good faith is screwed and we need to fix it. We need to actually actively work on changing the way that people view us and start to influence the law and things like that. And then the other is that like the whole reason we're here is because of a diverse crowd of people that want to screw us over. And we're trying to like compete with that with automation that's not as creative as they are, or people being paid by the hour. And they could be really good, but the math says they're going to fail at some point. So like, how do you try to bring some more balance to that? So that was sort of the founder itch that I wanted to scratch when I started Bugcrowd up. So yeah, pretty much the talk is really about the fact that like when that happened, the thing that's interesting about the timing of all of that is that when we started the company in Australia, got some initial seed funding and all that, I had an entrepreneurial kind of,
drive,
be in my bonnet at that point as well. It's like, I want to build a thing. And clearly that escalated, but, getting out here, we actually landed in the US the same month that Snowden did his thing. And when I look back, I actually think of that moment, not talking about anything like for or against what Snowden did personally, but I think a byproduct of that whole thing was it got everyone thinking about the fact that this cybersecurity or infosec or hacking, whatever we want to call it back in 2012 thing, maybe it matters to me.
Right.
And prior to that, I don't feel like that had really happened. You know what I mean? It had happened in pockets, but this kind of affected everyone all at once. And then if you think about sort of where it went from there, it just got progressively more and more dystopian and real. And, that's made hackers relevant. And then people that think the way that we do, it's like we tip stuff upside down. We push the limits of assumption.
See what falls out.
All that kind of stuff. So it's really about that inflection point and the fact that I do feel like we're at another one of those now. Yeah, when you think about the acceleration, I do think that the wholesale availability of AI is a pretty radical shift. It's not quite like industrial revolution levels, but it's sort of like when, it's like AI in 2024 is like having a website in 1997.
Right.
Everyone's like, and no one really knows what they're going to use it for yet. But in reality, it does actually end up going on to change basically everything.
Lots of pictures of cats in both scenarios.
Cat pics and all sorts of like hairy stuff that, is a thing. But yeah, it's the idea of like the backstory of how we then went on back in 2012 to build Bugcrowd and the different steps of that journey. Like we're a very large, we basically succeeded at the change mindset mission. And we've grown like crazy as a company. Like it's a big organization now. So to go back to when it was just me and a couple others sitting in a room, with a whiteboard, there's nothing stopping anyone else who's got that same bee in their bonnet and a sense of like wanting to change things for better and actually be part of a solution, grow a business, whatever it is that motivates you, like just kind of do that. Because I think the environment we're in right now is really conducive to that. And I think chaos is a ladder. So it's sort of, trying to like jazz people up to actually go off and do that type of thing. That's really the intent of the talk.
Awesome.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
It will be fun. If somebody wanted to approach you and talk to you,
don't.
Fair enough. All right.
No, kidding.
Okay, moving on.
Sorry.
No, it's great. What is something outside of InfoSec that maybe you could have a common, kinship?
Oh, yeah, for sure. So you're going to ask if someone wanted to strike up conversation, what's a non-InfoSec topic?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a musician. I've been playing drums since I was a kid. Love that stuff. Don't get to do as much of it since I got a cell phone and the business started growing and things like that, adulting. But love my music. Startups and just entrepreneurship in general, like not just security stuff, but, just people building things. Like I love just being around the energy of that. And, helping with some of the dumb mistakes I learned and some of the things I did well to try to kind of support that. I think there's value in that for people that come up. But for me, it's amazing. I think, people kind of stop short of going up to folks that have done these types of things and actually asking stupid questions because they feel like it'll be a stupid question. Right. It's not. It's really not.
So try harder.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's always a bit of that, right? But it's hard. It's a hard thing to do. And I've done a bunch of things right and I've made a bunch of mistakes along the way. And I think those are really fun things to chat about. So that's another one. Probably the last one would be like, just, just thinking about,
You're thinking about that handle, aren't you?
I am thinking about the handle a little bit. Yeah, handle exchange. What do you
after we push stop on the recording?
What do we do in a post.com era? Because like .io, we thought that was the answer, but it turns out that's a little flaky.
Yeah. We'll see how long that lasts. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's next for you?
Man, it's like here, just getting around doing the things, checking out more of the con. I'm really looking forward to. I caught Dave's keynote. I had to actually do it from the hotel this morning because a bunch of work stuff kind of popped up. But you got to be around for the full day tomorrow and the day after. So going back to what I said before, if anyone wants to come up, say hello, feel free. And I'd love to meet you and can chat and do all the things. More generally, man, it's like, I this is actually what I was balking at before. So I've just come off basically, I was in Australia and ended up having to have heart surgery kind of unexpectedly, which was not on the bingo card. And yeah, it's the whole thing with that. But basically, just coming back from that and kind of building back, everything's been successful, but it's not something that I recommend to folk. So that's
Your heart wasn't 2 sizes bigger after?
it was. That was what let him know there was a problem, because I had a valve that failed. It's like a genetic thing that we thought I was out of the woods on, and turns out I wasn't. So we sort of learned that the hard way while we're down under, and just literally just got back. So part of this for me is just kind of a re-entry into conference life, having missed DEF CON and a couple other things this year. And then, in terms of what's next, man, there's a lot. I'll be eating my own dog food in my talk tomorrow. So, on Thursday rather. So if you're around, come and check it out.
Awesome. Well, we are very glad that the heart surgery went well and that you're here with us. And, that you were like the Grinch and your heart grew 2 sizes that day. You're able to come spread that love here in Utah at SAINTCON.
Yeah. I mean, I really appreciate you guys, reaching out and just kind of including me in all this as far back as Blackout Asia. Just hearing like everyone's enthusiasm for this con and this community, and just the straight up just the warmth and openness of the invite. I'm like, I really want to make sure I get to that thing. So thank you.
Well, I'm glad you could make it.
Yeah.
And appreciate you coming to speak. And thank you for joining me in the hallway.
Absolutely.